All right, hold up. Let me put myself together here. Uh-oh. There we go. So I'm online. I'm live right now, okay? I'm going to figure out how to do this where I don't have to hold my devices. Anyway, let me get to it. My name is DJ Freedim. In case you're just coming on board for the first time and you've never done this before, I am doing a special edition. It's always a special edition of Ride and Vibe. Hashtag Ride and Vibe more specifically. This show is about ride share as it pertains to New York City. Now, I want to say this before I get into that. I can take my mask off because there's nobody in the car right now. But first and foremost, I was on a call about a new station that I'm going to be joining forces with called B-Box Radio, and I give them a shout out as I did in my last video like this. The station is going to be reinventing itself, which is a beautiful thing to be at the base of this reinvention. I've been part of a lot of great beginnings, but their endings were that they crashed and burned. They really didn't have what it took to get out of whatever it was, the funk they were in, or to be able to elevate their brand and business to be able to go to the heights that I joined them to do. Sometimes it's personal, sometimes the business itself just isn't put together right. Sometimes it's the people involved. I'm not here to speak too much into that except to make the point that I'm part of something that's got great potential and I'm promoting it early. What's going on, local DJ Hero? That would be AKA Soul Tickler. So I'm doing this video today called Ride and Vibe because I'm in the car, I'm riding, and the vibe is basically about ride share today. But I'm going to shift it moving forward, so the understanding is that this is going to be about more than just ride share. It's going to be about music, because at the base of everything I do is music. DJ Freedim Lives is called such because it's about me living my life as a DJ who is free to do what he loves to do. Blessings back, my brother. Good to see you on here. I'm going to, as I always have, promote people like my brother Soul Tickler, who has been a DJ many years and has done wonderful things for the city of Houston's house scene, the authentic house music, the kind that we here in New York love, the kind that in Chicago, our family in Chicago loves. All around the world, it has expanded way beyond what it started out as. A thing that black people, gay people, and the freaks, the crazy, the underserved, the voices of the voiceless, we're everything outside the frame of a system that didn't want us to succeed, and yet we're the ones that make and break everything. We're the ones that carry everything. We're the ones that do all the work at the base. So, my brother's part of something great, and I wanted to just shout you out. Today's show is essentially going to be about ride share, but I'm not going to spend a lot of time on that, only because I want to show you why this show exists on this platform and not on the other channels that I have. Ride share as a business has allowed me to be able to do what I do musically. And what I mean by that is I drive when I want. It's my business. It's my car. I was going to get into it more deeply and have a fleet of cars, but I decided not to go that route because this really has never been my ambition. Rideshare has never been my ambition. It's a gig that I jumped on board with as an opportunity to make money. I learned the business. I learned how it works. I got my license, my hack license 2 years ago, and I've been doing this ever since. So from that, my story is very simple. I've only touched on it a few times when I've done these ride and vibe shows. I got into rideshare to make money, to be able to promote my music business. So for all you drivers that have dreams and aspirations way beyond rideshare, I'm living proof that it can be done. When I started, my credit score was about 500 to 600. Now my credit score is in the mid sevens. I'm like 750 right now. And it goes 3 points up, 3 points back, 1 point up, but I'm in the mid sevens. Just to show you that if you build a business and you're consistently paying your bills and you manage everything correctly, you can build build your business. Now, rideshare as a business for me is on autopilot. Last week, for example, I drove 1.5 days. This week, I'm going to drive 4 days because I need certain things to be maintained. And I'm giving you insight into my very personal life as a driver, because in rideshare, it's a brotherhood, it's a sisterhood that needs to be promoted. We're not competing against one another. We all work together. The better we are as drivers doing what we do, the more people will respect us, and the more money we can make, the more opportunity can come from it. And if your goal is to do other things, to go back to school, to put your children through school, to build houses, to get into real estate, the stock market, cryptocurrency, for me it's music. So I do those other things, by the way. That's why I mentioned them. But the main thing for me is music. It's always going to be music. No matter what industry I affiliate myself with. To show you another example, I started an online radio station in 2008 called Mix to Go Radio. The only reason I started that platform was to promote that I'm a DJ. I work with other DJs, helping them to build their brands. Did they help me in return? No, that's why they're not here today. There's a few that I still build with. I mentioned Soul Tickler is one of them. There's a few others. I won't name names right here because they're not here, but they know who they are, with all due respect. And when this COVID-19 virus has dissipated and we've gone back to what we were doing before all of this, on another level, obviously, because we'll never look at life the same way, having witnessed what this has been like for all of us. But when we get back to doing events and throwing parties and all of that, I'm going to be working with those same people that when this was going on, when the chips were down and there were no clubs and there were no events, nothing like this has ever happened. And since it has, I've come to see who's really part of my circle and who isn't. My phone doesn't ring with a lot of those people. So I'm not sweating them. I'm not reaching out to them. I'm not trying to build with them. I'm not trying to be a part of anybody's situation if they aren't riding with me. It's as simple as that. So having said that, I wanted to share a few basic things with all of you today. In the rideshare world in New York City, there's only a few things you need to know to be successful. Number one, you need to have an LLC, not an INC. An INC, to me, my opinion, is good if you're going to have a lot of employees. And that's for anybody that has a business. If it's just going to be you and a partner or 3 or 4 people, no more than that, LLC is the way to go. You don't get taxed twice for the same thing. Whereas if you form an INC, you get taxed twice. All right? And that's across the board for any industry. These things are true. Another thing, you can do your EIN number by yourself. You don't need to pay a lawyer to do it. You can actually form the business yourself. I've always used one particular law firm. I'm not going to name them, but you can write me behind the scenes and I'll tell you who they are. I've been using them for years. I formed my very first business in 2004, and I used this very same law firm. They formed hundreds, maybe hundreds of thousands of companies, and they know what they're doing. I've never been audited because of them, even though I had a lawyer actually tell me they've had to clean up the formations of businesses. That's because those business owners didn't know what they were doing when they formed their company. So the first thing you need to do if you're going into ride share in any industry is to have a proper company set up. Okay? It's going to pay off in the long run. If you get into an accident and somebody tries to sue you, they're going to go after you personally, your car, your house, anything you own, it's gone. They're going to take it. Or you're going to have to use it as an asset to your as the only thing you own to cover the cost. And you don't want that. If it's owned by your business, if your car, your house, maybe not your personal house, but if your car, which is your asset, which is how you do business, is taken from you, you'll be out of business. Peace, Queen. Queen Martina just joined us. That's my partner and everything. Just so y'all know. So if you have a business set up correctly and you've got your EIN number, again, hit me up, freedom@mixtogo.info. If you need insight to that, then you're on your way to running your rideshare business the right way. By the way, Uber and Lyft are not accepting new drivers right now. If you are signing up to be a part of those companies in New York City, they're not accepting anybody right now. They have a waiting list if you're joining. But far as I know, they haven't been accepting any new drivers. That's a good thing for me because it means that finally there's some sense of quality control going on. They were forced to do it. They didn't do it because they wanted to, because the way they were moving, real talk, they will hire whoever wanted to be on the platform could be on the platform. And it was unfair to those of us who were already on here. Although I can include myself and say I joined 2 years ago when it was already well over 80,000 drivers then. Now there's probably more like 100,000 drivers in New York City. However, yeah, I'm sideways. I can't help that because the people won't be able to see me if I put the phone up on the dash. Martina's saying it is sideways. So if I do it like that, I'll see if I can keep it straight then. I'll take your advice, Queen. See if this works. See, now you can see me, but I can't keep the phone in position. Maybe if I turn this device that way and then position myself, it's hard to do it. Let me see if I can work this out. Let me do something different. Oh, that works. I just turned it upside down. All right, perfect. All right, so now we have our company formed. We're ready to do rideshare business. Keep in mind, if you do rideshare in another city, you can apply some of what I'm saying to you. I know that Uber and Lyft are in pretty much every major city in the United States. If they are not, you can reach out to them. But I can tell you, if you're in a city in the United States right now and there's no Lyft, more than likely there isn't enough business in your city for Lyft to be in your city. But all the major cities, New York, Chicago, Miami, Atlanta, DC, Philly, Baltimore, I'll be here all day naming the cities, Houston, Dallas, they're in most major cities, both of them. So what I'm saying pretty much applies. What doesn't is the TLC. There is no TLC outside of New York City. They have TLC like agencies in other cities. But thank you, Queen. I understand. But there are TLC-like entities in Long Island. There's a TLC. In New Jersey, there was talk of forming a TLC. They haven't done it that I know of. In Westchester, there's a TLC. If you drive in Westchester County, north of the Bronx, you have a TLC in place. You have to go through them and get a license in order for you to drive professionally. The TLC needs to be an agency that you work with even after you get your license. You need to get and read their emails. They go out every few days regarding anything that's currently happening. Right now, everything is about this virus. So, they offer assistance with health insurance and coverage, masks, gloves. I have gloves, I have masks. The Queen made a mask for me. I don't have it with me, but I have my mask that I use. I'll speak on the mask in a minute, but I'm just kind of broad stroking the things that most drivers need to know before we go into the other aspects of what's happening. You've got your business. You registered with the TLC to get your hack license, and you need information on how to get a vehicle to drive. For those of you who already know this, ignore it. I'm going to speed right through that. I'm not going to make it a long build on how to get a car in graphic detail, except to give you the 30-second version of this. There are companies that spent millions of dollars buying vehicles when New York City prevented drivers from being able to buy their own vehicle. This happened in 2018, right after I got my license, right as I was getting my license. I got my license a month after a vehicle cap was put on. What's a vehicle cap? For those of you who are living in the Stone Ages and don't know what this is, a vehicle cap is what happened in New York City when in 2018, the TLC, from pressure from City Council and the yellow cab industry, saw that Uber was hurting their bottom line, and there were too many cars on the road. The congestion, the traffic, too many rideshare drivers suddenly appearing, not knowing what they're doing, not obeying the laws of the road, not understanding culturally. Again, a majority of the drivers that do rideshare are immigrants, which tells you that they may not understand certain things culturally about driving in New York. You have to take into consideration what you did to get your DMV license, then what you had to do on top of that to get your TLC license, and then there's the actual way you drive on the road that is not in those books that you read to get your license. Some of them didn't get the book that I got, because when I talk to certain rideshare drivers about certain things, they don't know what I'm talking about. So I'm like, so how did you get your license? That's another topic. But what I will say to those of you who have accomplished getting into a car, whether you rented a car or own a car, renting a car, if you're in this business long term, is just not wise. If you're in this and don't know how far you want to go with it, you went through a lot to get your license. You had to pay different fees. You had to get screened, health screenings, and you had to do different things to get on the road. Uber is very big on helping drivers to get on the road because that's how they make money. But what they don't tell you along the way is, if you're going to be in this business for real, long term, you don't need an LLC. You don't need a corporation. That's why I said you do. For your safety, you do. Just do your taxes right. Make sure you have a proper accountant. Guess what? I had to go and go through that, and I'm going to be doing my taxes in about 2 weeks. I found out that there's relief for drivers. That's a blessing in disguise, because I hadn't done my taxes on time either. But as a business, it's different. I have to file more often than the average person, because otherwise I'm paying a lot more taxes than the average person. That's another story too. But generally speaking, you need a good accountant. You need a lawyer, not just a regular lawyer. You need a TLC lawyer. I have one. I can recommend her to you. I'm not going to give her name or her information here, but I got her when I was going to get my license. She's the reason, along with my wife, Queen Martina, and an individual who I won't mention by name, but I will mention the union, the guild that helped me get my license. I'll mention them in a moment. But you need to really stay in touch with the TLC. The TLC can be your worst enemy, or they can be your best friend. Don't get on the road and just take into consideration that when you get on the road, you have to abide by the TLC rules and regulations. They are not laws, but they are rules that if you don't follow, you could lose your hack license, or you will be heavily fined, which will lead to you losing your license, or your vehicle being confiscated. They can do so at any time if they think that you are not complying with the rules of the road. They can stop you if you're driving erratically, if you don't stop at a stop sign, if you, like me, I had a situation just a month ago, less than a month ago, where I was pulled over because I went through a red light that I didn't see. As the claim goes, there's red lights that you turn on that you may not be able to see, and there's red lights that, hang on one second, because my phone is distracting me. It's telling me that it's dying. My apologies. There are right turn red lights, there are left turn red lights, and then there's regular red lights, and then there's blinking red lights. And you need to know what all these different lights mean. Not that I wasn't looking for it, but the way I was positioned in the street, I didn't see it all the way in the right corner. I went back around the block and I saw it. That's why I'm speaking on it. It wasn't where I could see it from the middle, but guess what? That's because you're not supposed to make a right turn from the middle lane on a big street that I was on. I don't remember what street I was on, but I can admit that I was wrong and I will have to pay that fine. But for the record, you need to abide by the rules that the TLC puts in place. And I have a book that I got from my driving when I was learning how to be a rideshare driver, a TLC licensed driver. I can recommend the school that has that book, although they won't probably give it to you without taking their classes. But then again, maybe you can buy the book from them. I would recommend even taking classes with them. I also will recommend taking a 5-star class that I'm now going to get into it, that IDG offers. IDG offers a class that you can take that's called a 5-star class. And it's a great class that any driver looking to be a professional in the black car service world should take on and master. Because you're going to need to learn not just rules of driving, you're going to need to learn how to be courteous, going that extra mile, getting your 5 stars, learning how to use the Uber app, how to complain about something that goes wrong in your car, how to treat customers, how to get tips, things that you should avoid. It's graphic details that I won't get into here because this is just meant to be generic information that anybody in the rideshare world can use. Passenger etiquette, I'll get into that at the end. I always save that for the end. IDG is a guild, stands for Independent Drivers Guild. The Independent Drivers Guild was formed right after Uber came into New York. Around 2014 was when Uber came to New York. If I'm not exact on that, it's 2014 or 2012. 2012 or 2014. But right after, a year or two after they came into New York, the guild was formed as a necessity as an outcry of Uber not treating its drivers correctly. It was a need. There are unions for just about every industry in New York, every major industry, but there wasn't one for rideshare drivers when IDG formed. There's one for the yellow cab industry, and they include limousines to a point. I think the limousine industry had has some kind of union. But rideshare drivers that do black car service, particularly driving with Uber and Lyft, and at the time Juno and Via, didn't have any kind of voice beyond going to the TLC to complain about something. But what if you get violated by the TLC? Who do you go to complain to? So the guild represents your interests in New York City and Newark, New Jersey. Big shout out to them. If you have any issues, complaints, or concerns regarding rideshare, go to the guild's website. Their IDG page is updated every single day with the newest information. It's the CNN of rideshare for New York City. They cover everything that you need to know. I guarantee you won't go wrong. And I'm not saying that because I'm a member, proud member. If I use the word strongly here, I don't like the word pride because it's a negative connotation to it. But in this case, I'm speaking to it positively. Pride is a good thing to have for this union, for this guild, which is inside what is known as the Machinist Union. The Machinist Union is an actual union that covers machines that move on the road, cars. The yellow cab industry is included. And if I miss anything, you can correct me behind the scenes and I'll go back and post about it later. What's good, Coach White? Thank you for joining. I'm going to do another one of these Ride and Vibe sessions where I talk more about IDG because I really think the information that they give and what they represent is missed by thousands of drivers. There are close to 20,000 members in the guild right now, as I last checked. That's 1/4 or 1/5 of all the drivers in New York City that have a license. That's pretty good. That's really good, in fact, because I would imagine that if that many people, if 1 out of 5 drivers is a member, then all the things that they talk about should be implemented by them and by the drivers who are members. Members pay their dues and don't actually go to meetings or participate in the actions by IDG. I always have. I missed a couple of meetings because of the COVID virus, just because they were online and, it was just me missing it. But I'm very much active. I keep in touch with the people who oversee a lot of the inner workings at the guild, as I always have since I found them in 2018. I found them before I got my license, and I've been a member. I was a member actually right after I found them. Even before I had my license, I was a paying member because I was that confident and that serious and sincere that I could make a difference. And this is why I do this. I do this on my driving time. I should be on the road making money right now, but I'm doing this for other drivers because someone got off the road to go to a meeting in my community where I live in Brooklyn to speak to drivers about rideshare, the benefits, things you need to know, what you can do to help others, what you can learn for yourself. This person unselfishly took time out of their day to speak to drivers like myself who wasn't a driver yet. And I was so, so impressed by, lack of a better word, but I was happy, I was humble. And that person took time out of their day to speak to the drivers who were there, who had concerns and, had been kicked off the app. I learned early that people were just being randomly dropped off the app for reasons they didn't always understand. And so I learned through that person and I'm still in touch with that person. Big shout out to them. And you know who you are. I'm not going to say your name for security reasons, but they have helped me get on and they continue to help me understand things that progressively happen. And they are a driver themselves, not special, just someone who understands how this works and has had the privilege and pleasure of meeting with executives at Uber and Lyft. The makers of the Lyft app have come to one of our meetings at one point They never came again because we lit into them. But, you know, they know who we are. Uber invites us to come to their meetings. I've actually been fortunate to take place in a meeting where, as a driver, I got to talk to other drivers and help them to be able to get back on the platform when they were deactivated. So let's dial it back for a second. Thank you for joining us. I can't see your name all the way. Lemposa, thank you for joining. You got your business, Uber driver, rideshare driver, Lyft driver, Via driver. I'm not going to discuss the different platforms today. I'll do that next week. Okay, this is more of a reintroduction to Ride and Vibe, and I'll get into the music aspect of it at the very end. But you got your business, you got your vehicle, whether you rent it or bought it. And I know I started to talk about renting and then I kind of drifted off. But if you're renting a vehicle and you've been in this business for more than 6 months, you need to go ahead and get into ownership. Stack your money up, work hard, drive more days and hours as much as you can. If you got a full-time day job, but you're doing this and you're renting and you're moonlighting, but you're driving however many hours to pay for that car, but you're not profiting, that's because you shouldn't be renting beyond 6 months, period. If even before the 6 month period, you were renting and you realize I'm going to really be doing this, then go ahead and get your license, okay? Pardon me, I said that wrong. Go ahead and consider owning a car. Talk to me about it. I went through the process. I own my car. I drive a car that technically my business owns the car. Because again, you don't want anything in your name that can be taken from you and you are suddenly unable to do business in your vehicle, in your company's vehicle. It's your company, but you drive the car under that company umbrella. That's how I'm doing it. So reach out to me, freedom@mixtogo.info. That's my business email, and I check it several times a day. If you reach out, I will help you, guide you through the process. If not me, go to idg.org, I think it is, or Independent Drivers Guild. You can Google their name, and they will give you any assistance you need to get on the platform, to get on one of these rideshare platforms. Also, very important, you need to consider if you're going to own, you can own any kind of vehicle that's in the market, from a Tesla to a BMW to an oversized SUV, Yukon, whatever. You can own any kind of car. You don't need to just get into a Camry. Camry's the most popular car in rideshare. All black Camrys are the thing for a lot of people that do it. But you don't have to only get that car. You can get any vehicle. But it must be 4 doors, for those of you, as if you didn't know this already. And you must have 5 seat belts, 4 for passengers. You must also not have anything special done to the vehicle. Aftermarket things can't be done, because when you go to get the car inspected, if it's your car, when you go to get it inspected, you will fail. You can't have tinted windows. You can't do anything to the mirrors. Everything has to be factory set. The way the car was made when it was made. It has to be just that when you put it on the road. Okay? You can't have any decals on the car for your business other than rideshare. Okay? It has to pertain to rideshare. If you were driving a yellow cab, you can have the little thing on top of the car because that's part of that business. But if it's not pertaining to that, they're not going to allow you to do it. They're going to give you a fail. So, owning a car, you can own any vehicle. However, there's a condition, and I'll give you the conditions. One of them is the companies that own most of the cars that will sell you a car will sell you a car with plates on it, because you cannot go to the TLC and get commercial plates for your vehicle. Most of you know this, right? Okay. What you may not know is you can still get any kind of vehicle, because those companies, I'm not going to name them, they have plates on just about any kind of vehicle. I found out when I was looking to buy, and I was surprised. I wanted a Highlander at the time because I like Toyota and I like the Highlander. So I was looking for that, and one of the companies that rents that vehicle also sells it. It's very expensive. You're going to pay, man, maybe 30-40% more than you would pay if you just bought the car from Toyota. But that's because they're giving you commercial plates, which will be yours after you finish paying for it. And they're also giving you insurance, commercial insurance, which you must have in order to do rideshare. When you submit all your documents to Uber or Lyft, if you don't have those things, you're not going to be able to drive. They're gonna turn you down. So that's the way that is. Now, I didn't go through that process with those companies because I realized I'm not going to pay $500 a week, which is $2,000 a month. A car note for most people is $300 to $500 a month. Of course, that's for a personal vehicle. For a commercial vehicle, though, your insurance should not be more than $400. If you are under 21, you more than likely won't even be able to get approved anyway, but most of us are over, so I won't address that in that way. But if you're under 25, let's put it that way, and you're a young person getting in the business, you'll find that your insurance, the offerings you're going to get are going to be very high. You're going to pay a lot. I'm paying a lot because I had just gotten my license 2 years ago, and I didn't have my DMV license for more than 2 years. If I had my license for 3 years or better, my insurance would be much lower. You also can't have any accidents, and depending on the circumstance, that's how your insurance is rated. My insurance was like $400 when I started. I'm still paying almost $400. It went down a little bit because I've had my license for over a year. It'll go down again because I passed the 2-year mark in April. And once the accidents that I had last year go away, after my 3rd year, it'll go down even more. So that being said, you got to have commercial insurance, and you want to have a vehicle that doesn't cost you $500 a week. How do you avoid that? You buy from a company that will allow you to pay monthly notes. It may be a little more. You may pay close to $1,000 in most cases, but it's better than paying $500 a week. You're going to save in the long run about $500 per month buying and owning your car. Not to mention the fact that after 2 to 3 years of paying for the car, you're going to own it and you won't have a note anymore. You'll just be paying insurance and maintenance for the vehicle. So it's worth it to go this route to owning. Owning is the route for any business. Ownership of whatever is the way to go. Being in a position where you control your destiny is the way to go. Being in a position where you're feeling like an employee in a business where you clearly are supposed to be the boss is never the way to go. You're going to lose. So let's talk about, as I end this briefly, music. What does this have to do with DJ Freedim Lives? Why is this even on your channel? Because, again, as I said early on, if it weren't for rideshare, I wouldn't be able to pay for the studio that I purchased with some of the money I made last summer. I did it in a payment plan fashion. If you want to know how I did it and you're in music, reach out. I'll show you what I did. There are companies that will work with you and offer you a payment plan, even for the most expensive equipment. The stuff I got ain't cheap. If you was to go out and buy it and go to any store and be like, I want this is the way I did it, 11, 12 items, $5,000, $6,000 worth of equipment. If you ain't got the cash or a credit card to pay for it, they're going to look at you like you're crazy. And even if you had a credit card, you wouldn't want to max your card with all those purchases, with that kind of a purchase, because you will find yourself causing your credit score to tank. And that's a bad look. So don't go that route. I didn't do it. I've never missed a payment for anything I've ever had to pay for. I bought all this equipment straight out. and it's mine, and I finished paying for it in December. There's some other stuff I want to get now to upgrade my DJ setup, but I don't need it right now. And because of what I'm looking to do in my business, that's an expense I don't need to take on at this moment. So I'm just saying that to you. Like anything else, be smart about your business moves as you make them. Yes, I'm driving. This is called Ride and Vibe, so you might see me driving. And I'm not driving people right now, obviously, because I'm talking to you. I'm on my way to get something to eat because I haven't eaten in a few hours. Little tips, like make sure you eat proper food. I'm going to a particular place. My wife is not going to like this when she hears it, but I'm going to a buffet place that I've always gone to, that we go to. The food is great. I'm not giving them a name, but I'm going there because I can trust that the food is of good quality. They monitor. Because of what's going on, you can't walk in the shop without a mask. You couldn't stand over the tables or the trays where the food are set up without having a mask on. And I will say to all drivers and anyone watching, if you go to a buffet place and no one is watching the tables, you need to walk right back out. That's a bad sign that your food could be contaminated. Someone could be speaking over it. If they don't have coverings over where the food is presented to you, then you need to leave it alone. You need to walk right back out. I wouldn't trust them. So, that being said, get some exercise. Common sense, right? You know what I do when I'm charging this car? Oh, I have an electric vehicle, by the way. A Nissan Leaf 2019. I didn't even talk about my experience with this car. I'll do that next week. Just come back next week. I'll do that. I'm about to wrap it up. But in this car, oh, there's no sound. Oh, wow. That's too bad. Well, oh, man. Okay. Well, it'll be on YouTube then if there's no sound here. I'll figure out what went wrong. Maybe I did that. Maybe I did that when I plugged the phone in. Anyway, it's on YouTube. So I'll make sure I put a post up later about that. I'm going to end with this. Next week, I will talk about all the things I talked about today in brief. I will always bring these things up because there's always new people who've never heard these things before. So my experienced drivers, just bear with me as I do so. But I'm also going to talk about some things that you don't know, most current, and from my own experience as a driver who has never been deactivated, who has been warned but never been deactivated. I'll give you some honest insight to how I drive and what I do to make money, because most of you aren't going to do it anyway, mostly, and I'm not saying that to be sarcastic or pessimistic, but because my 2 years of being on the road doing ride share, I've talked to hundreds, maybe thousands of drivers, and I've given them insights and told them things, and when I met with them again, they told me they didn't do anything I told them. So I'm saying this to you. If you ask for help, please take heed. Consider very seriously what I tell you, because I learned it from experience. I learned it from drivers who knew better than me. I surrounded myself with drivers who knew better than me from the start. From the start, I got into this business talking to people who knew better than me before I had my license. Okay? I made the decision to buy the car that I bought because I talked to many different people. Okay? I did my video research. You go on YouTube, you can learn about anything. I researched every vehicle that I liked, and then I made practical choices, even on my wish list. The cars that I wanted were cars that got good mileage, were practical, they looked nice, they're comfortable to sit in, comfortable to drive in. All of those things are important if you're going to do ride share. Okay? Don't pick a vehicle just because it looks good, it's bad on miles, because you're going to pay for it. If you don't mind paying for it, then that's you. It's not smart to me, but you get into a vehicle because it's good. The number one car in New York City for ride share is a Camry, a Toyota Camry. 2017 and better, highly recommended. 2016 is okay. I drove a Nissan Altima, but that was in 2018. Okay, at the end of 2018. I drove a Nissan Altima that was a 2016. That car is still a good car if it's in good condition, if it doesn't have a lot of miles and isn't worn out and was maintained for the last 4 years. But if you drive anything older than that, it needs to have been in great condition, and I just don't recommend it if you can avoid it. But if you have to, you have to. Get a car that's within 4 years old, all right? Also, good is a Honda Accord. Not as good to me as a Camry, but it's a great car. Corolla is a good car, great car for rideshare. A little smaller than the Camry, but it's good. It serves its purpose. The Nissan Altima I mentioned is good. Nissan, pretty much anything. Their SUVs are all good. The Rogue is good. SUVs on Toyota are all good. You'll get a lot of mileage out of driving a Toyota Highlander is good. Not good on gas. You're going to spend, like I do, about $40 per fill up. Maybe more if you don't go to a proper gas station. And yet it's a great car. You're going to get 5 stars if people get into your Toyota Highlander, because it's very, very roomy. It's a big vehicle. I got used to it right away. I love the way it drives. It handles extremely well. Infiniti QX60 is another vehicle I drove. I don't recommend it, but you will get 5 stars if you drive it. So the pro of it is that you will get 5 stars. The con is that it's not the best vehicle in New York. It's going to ride over bumps just like the Toyota Highlander. It's going to go over bumps and all of that with no problem. You're going to be able to get where you need to go, and your passengers are going to be comfortable. My vehicle, the Nissan Leaf, I'm extremely happy with it. Okay? The only thing is getting used to charging it. All right? I got used to going to charging stations, which I was supposed to talk about a little bit. But I wanted to make sure I included the best vehicles for rideshare, and I have. If there be a list, I'll give you my top 10 list next week. How about that? Based on my research, even though I haven't driven every vehicle, but I can tell you from experience that these vehicles are all great. All great. And also, regarding charging the electric vehicle, aside from the Nissan Leaf, the Tesla is the car to get. But keep in mind, as I'm sure you may already know, it's a very expensive vehicle. You can buy it used for probably half what you'd pay for it new. If it's 60 to 80 new, you can get it for 30 to 40 used. All right? Don't go older than 2016, 17. And also be aware that if anything happens to it, repairing it, maintenance is very expensive. This is what I've been told. I don't know for a fact because I've never driven it and I don't own it. But this is what drivers who've owned it have said to me. Those who've rented it have said to me. I don't know how you rent a Tesla for rideshare, but okay, it may exist. Also, the Nissan Leaf, if you get one, make sure it's 2019 or better. The 2018 is good, but I recommend just making sure it's a 19 or better. There's a 20 out, since it is 2020. By 2021, they're supposedly going to be adding an SUV, and Toyota's also looking into adding an electric SUV. I think Sonata, the company that makes the Hyundai has an electric vehicle, the Ensoniq, I think it's called. Don't quote me, but I know that Hyundai has one. I was looking at it. It's a nice car, but I don't see any drivers using it. So maybe it didn't work out that anyone's getting it. Plus, the other thing is, if you buy a vehicle, even though it's electric, and you want to go and get your own plates, and you're not experienced in how to do this, you may have some trouble getting your license. So getting plates for the car. I'll talk about that next week. I'm going to end for now because I need to get something to eat and get back on the road. So my apologies if I'm rushing through things or if I wasn't explicit in explaining things. I'll say it one last time. Reach out to me on Instagram at DJ Freedim Lives, or email me freedom@mixtogo.info. Thank you for watching today. I'm DJ Freedim. I appreciate you. I'll talk about music in my next one. I apologize I didn't get to it today, but I'll get to the music aspect of why that pertains to this channel in my next video. Y'all be safe out there. Take care of each other. Put this on. Wear it, not just for show. Peace.